Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, Trump wins. Also, the V team takes a look at Medicaid disaster. And what do Governor Robert Bentley and Governor Christie have in common?
But, Your Honor, if you let me tell my side of the story...
You mean you have something to say in extenuation?
Oh, not that. No, not that, Your Honor. You see, I had a good reason.
Were you ever indicted?
Not since I was a baby, Your Honor.
Now, Governor, you're just a little too old for diapers. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V.
The Voice of Alabama Politics with your host, Bill Britt. Now, the #1 political show in Alabama, The V.
Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Welcome all.
Hi,
Good morning.
Good to be back.
For some, it was a great week. For others, it was a troubling week. Donald J. Trump was elected the 45th president of the United States. He was elected overwhelmingly in Alabama. Jonathan Barbie was at the ALGOP headquarters in Birmingham. Jonathan?
Thanks, Bill. We're here at the Alabama Republican Party headquarters, where Tuesday night the election played out till the early hours in Wednesday morning, when Donald J. Trump was elected the 45th president of the United States in a historical election. On Tuesday night, over 100 people attended a presidential watch party at the Alabama Republican Party headquarters. In the early hours of Wednesday morning, people were still waiting on the results, and then celebrated as news media announced Donald J. Trump was elected to become the 45th president of the United States. The V caught up with Alabama Trump co-chair Perry O. Hooper Jr. on Thursday after he returned from the Trump Victory Party in New York City.
People love him in Alabama. That reflected in the polls Tuesday, just like it reflected all over the USA. You know, what I'm proud of the most is that the silent majority was heard loud and clear Tuesday night, and I'm pumped. I thought it was great. Well, it's obvious the media was biased, but it didn't stop. Like I said, the silent majority, they listened to Donald Trump. His issues resonated throughout the entire United States of America, and grassroots America was heard. The silent majority stood up, and I'm convinced God had a lot to do with this thing. And the great people of the United States of America put us back in the USA by electing Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. I thought his acceptance speech was very humble. And he talked about how he needed and he was going to work with Congress and others to bring people together.
On Friday, President-elect Donald Trump chose Alabama's U.S. Senator Jeff Sessions to join his presidential transition team. It's also rumored that Senator Sessions may join the president's cabinet in the future. One thing is for sure, this election was a historical phenomenon. I'm Jonathan Barbie, reporting for the Voice of Alabama Politics. Now back to you.
I have to say, Perry Hooper did a great job, Jack, of working hard, he and Jim Carnes, to promote Trump in the state of Alabama.
He did a great job, and you know, he did it at his own expense. I talked to him the morning after. He was in New York for the victory party, and he said it was just one heck of a celebration, and I can imagine. And hats off to him and Jim Carnes and others who worked very hard to elect Trump in Alabama.
And also hats off to those who worked on the Hillary campaign too. These were two very hard-working campaigns. They really took out all the stops. And it's, you know, thank God it's finally over now.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people who put a lot of work into this.
We had a lot of hard-working people across the state, but I mean, especially up in Birmingham, Josh Coleman, Bo Bowden. We had some great people, and you know, their work paid off because Democrats swept Jefferson County. So
They did.
I think in a lot
did.
of ways it was just everything kind of went on its head.
Yeah, it was, and you know, there's a lot of healing, Jack. You and I've talked about this. You know, I'm a lot like Thomas Jefferson. I'm afraid of every president, but the United States is divided. Can we bring it together?
Look, there's a lot of talent in the national Republican circles. I think Trump's going to surround himself with good people. I mean, one great choice was Kellyanne Conway, who did a fantastic job and tried to calm him down and make him sound more reasonable when he would sometimes wander off the reservation. I do resent, however, people like Josh Moon, who's my friend, saying that the country is filled with idiots because Trump won. And that's not true. Classroom teachers, truck drivers, small business owners, rich people, poor people, all voted for Donald Trump. And it, to me, was heartening that rural people had a voice in this election, because I believe they're the people that elected Trump.
Well, Susan, Joey Kennedy was very gracious and said while he didn't like it, he was his president.
He is. The people of Alabama and the people of the United States have spoken. This is our president, whether you like it or not. It's time for everybody to come together, though, and begin the healing process. Because wishing something bad on what is now our president, Donald Trump, wishes something bad on the country. So
I just hope
everybody needs to unite.
My one thing, and I've been on the let's get this together train, but my one thing is I hope that he runs a fact-based presidency, because he did not run a fact-based campaign, and that's just the fact. And that's just how it is.
But I believe we're also being lied to on federal statistics on people out of work and all that kind of stuff. And I hope we'll have more integrity in government than we've had the last 8 years. Not scandals, because I don't think Obama had a lot of scandals, but I'm not sure that we're getting all the facts about the state of the economy.
Well, I don't know that we ever get all the facts, but we have to try to get them, and we can't have, I mean, my media feed was full of fake media on the left and the right. I mean, Susan and I were fortunate enough to get a call from a group of Danish journalism students who are interns. They came down here to Alabama. We talked to them for about an hour and a half, and they love America. And they were mostly shocked, because in their country, Hillary is right. She's far right in their country. But they were concerned about how we were doing reporting, because they are seeing the type of fake news that we see all the time in their small country.
Yeah, the disinformation that's so readily available these days, and everything geared toward clickbait. That's also being seen in Denmark as well as here in the United States. So it's beginning to become a worldwide problem.
Well, on a positive note, Trump made a very gracious victory speech. The next day, Hillary Clinton made a great, very conciliatory speech. And so did President Obama in the Rose Garden. So, hopefully we can move forward and everybody come together, because we have a lot of problems to fix.
Yes, we do.
I hope that's the case. I do want to get to this. The guessing game has begun. Senator Jeff Sessions, the first senator to endorse Donald Trump, our senator from Alabama, looks to be going on the cabinet. Who's going to replace him, Jack?
I don't know. We don't know for sure, that he's going to leave. I hate to see him go, but I mean, I think you would have to put Perry Hooper Jr. up there as one mention. He's a personal friend, and I don't say that to promote him, but he worked tirelessly for Trump. There are other names mentioned, Luther Strange, that Bentley will want to get him the hell out of the state.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Call the dogs off.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other names that float now.
Jim Maine.
Jim Maine, I don't understand
Roy Moore's
that
not
one.
doing much these days, and
Who?
Roy Moore's not doing a whole lot.
Oh, God, that'd be great.
One thing a lot of people aren't thinking about is, remember, it's not Bentley who's been making most of the decisions lately. It's somebody, in his cabinet or his personal kitchen cabinet. And
is that where he's keeping her now, in the kitchen?
So. But we have
he's such a chauvinist.
We
Well, she's
have a
cooking
history.
everything up, so.
We have a history of at least 9 different governors appointing themselves to vacant Senate seats. So you never know. I mean, he could resign and let Kay Ivey appoint him, or he could just appoint himself.
Well, and that would be interesting. It would not. Nothing would surprise me.
Good news is only one who has done that has ever won re-election.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
it would be just this one little period of him being a
But
senator.
it'd give him some breathing room between the State House and the Big House. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Tension reached a boiling point today outside of a Trump rally in Ohio, which started off as...
Protesters interrupt the Hillary Clinton speech in Iowa. Awesome. Oh my God.
I love that apparently when it comes to dogs, there's no political party.
You know, I didn't ever expect myself to agree with the Trump supporter on something.
We do agree that we love dogs, and dogs love us.
I think fundamentally, if you go talk person to person, they care about each other, and they care about kids, they care about dogs, and unfortunately, that's not what gets out in the media.
Things like this give us hope that we can all find common ground in some places, and I think that was what we were just a part of.
We have our differences, but everyone loves dogs.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan Martha Roby had a very, very tough re-election, something that no one expected, and it's because she said that she took offense to Donald Trump characterization about women, about grabbing them by their private parts and fondling them and all this. She's taking a real beating. I don't know what happens to her career.
I think there were 29 write-ins. 29,000 write-ins, and that's not counting for the people that voted Democrat just to expressly vote against her.
Or because they were Democrats.
Or because they were Democrats. But yeah, she's got some problems out there now. I personally stand with Martha Roby on those comments as a female. So, but she has been having a lot of problems in the last few years as it is. I think this just really put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody did that to my daughter, they'd have a lot of problems. But
and it's the same thing. We saw the youngest Congresswoman, Elise Stefanik, came out, and she was kind of tiptoeing around these things, and you had the people who were supporting Trump saying, "I can't believe you're falling for all this PC stuff," and then the people who were, on the other side of it saying, "I can't believe it took you this long to come out." So a lot of these, especially female members of Congress, were put in between a rock and a hard place. But at the end of the day, if you do what's right, the politics will take care of itself. And
but Jack, you disagree
with everything y'all just said, but because I think she should have kept her mouth shut and just voted for Hillary or voted for, Gary Johnson. But I think making those comments that she was not going to vote for Trump made a lot of people mad, made a lot of women mad. I heard she got roughed up at a women's Republican club meeting. And if all those write-ins had voted Democrat, she wouldn't be in Congress right now.
You're right.
But,
and we'd have Becky Garrettson in
but
2018.
I hope she learned a lesson. You don't run under the Republican banner and then not support the ticket. If she felt that strongly, maybe she should have run as a Democrat.
Well, I disagree, because when she qualified, this wasn't all
I understand,
as
Beth,
it was. And I'm sorry, some women have to stand up for each other on this.
I don't want to get to belabor this point. We see it differently because we're seeing it through different lenses. I see it through the lens of a man who don't think you should talk about women that way.
Should have disqualified her, but that's all right. They did it to Harry Ann when she endorsed Bobby Trump, and what she did was equal to an endorsement of Hillary.
We'll move on from that one. We will agree to disagree on that. One thing that we have reported earlier this week is we drew a comparison between New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and Robert Bentley. Now, how this compares is Bridgegate, which was the closing of major lanes on the upper level of the George Washington Bridge that connects New Jersey and New York. 2 of Christie's aides were found guilty, felony charges, guilty of using state resources to punish a political opponent, not even an opponent, but just somebody who didn't endorse Christie. And gosh, Beth, think about it. What did Bentley and his people do to Spencer Collier? This is very similar.
It's the same thing, and I hope we see some indictments and some convictions coming out of it. This is not the Gestapo. This is a democracy. We don't treat people like this. We don't use taxpayer resources to go after political enemies. It's just not a value that this country is built on. And we got to slap people on the wrist when they do it.
And to make this worse, he used law enforcement to go after
confidential private records.
Exactly. This is pretty deep.
Jack, I mean, this thing started, when Spencer Collier did the right thing, gave an affidavit in the Mike Hubbard case, something you did as well. But the crazy thing is, they went after him, and they haven't even stopped until recently.
He lost his job. They cut off his insurance
that day.
The day they fired him, and he's just had back surgery, which means there are a lot of medical bills beyond the surgery. It was deplorable, excuse me for using Hillary's term, but that was inexcusable. And I think the governor showed a side of him that I never thought existed, but it showed me he's a bad person.
Well, they took it a step further, Jack. They tried to use Aaliyah to discount anything that Spencer Collier had to say to show he was a bad guy and that he'd stolen from the state and all this, to which the Attorney General had to strongly come out and say, this didn't happen. He should have never been investigated. I mean, that's how bad they were going after
people who
law enforcement.
Use people to punish people who don't agree with them, like Richard Nixon and these people on Chris Christie's staff. That didn't have a very good outcome for them, and I think Bentley's facing some problems down the road.
And I think it's clear his back's against the wall, and he knows it, and he lashes out. It's human nature when your back's against the wall.
And we think that's the girl, or the alleged girlfriend, Rebecca Caldwell Mason. She likes to lash out. I do find it very interesting that they were indicted for closing those lanes. Bentley and them used law enforcement. He came out in public and said they believed he had done wrong things several times. They said that he may have done criminal things several times. And now the grand jury said, no, he did nothing wrong. The Attorney General said he should never have been investigated in the first place. How is this not the same as the other?
Exactly. And from our understanding, now we haven't proven this is alleged, but somebody during that same period of time went through Spencer Collier's medical records as well.
Right.
That was a breach.
It is just unconscionable to think that our governor and his minions have gone after Spencer Collier using state resources for political purposes. It's just crazy. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, why didn't we talk about all the good things happening in the state?
There's a hell of a lot of them. You
got to get past all this crap.
Good news, Jeff Sessions leaving?
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think Jeff Sessions Jeff Sessions will be a great addition to the Trump thing.
If he wants it, yeah.
If he wants it. I think you're right about Perry Hooper. Working overtime is what we call this. We found out that Stars, the $47 million no-bid contract that they entered into a couple of years ago, it's still not working, Susan. They can't even use it. They want people to work overtime and nights and they want them to work this weekend on Veterans Day.
Well, I'm sure one of the reasons is because the servers are already full. They didn't think this through, that all of this information was going to take server space. Never mind the fact that it can't handle multiple logins. So they're having to stagger the logins. And as you were saying, for holidays and weekends and overtime, which, by the way, state employees don't get paid if they're working overtime. We don't pay overtime in Alabama.
Well, they need overtime. I mean, it's just crazy that they've got these people working without pay because Bill Newton and Rex McDowell could not make a good decision if their life was dependent.
Well, they cut corners is the thing. Like they bought the software off the shelf. They tried to retrofit it to work. For $47 million, we should have gotten something custom made, tricked out, doing everything we needed it to do. They cut corners, and I guarantee you some of that $47 million is sitting in somebody's pocketbook right now.
Well, here's the thing. They told me when we went in for this first contract, and I'm going to beat this horse to death, that had they done the custom software, it would have been $100 million plus. Well, guess what? It's going to get there.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there. I wouldn't trust these guys to saddle a donkey. Anyway, you're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and analysis.
Maybe he's really focused.
Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics.
Hannah Bates, who works for the Senate,
Yeah.
Just stopped by to say hello.
Yeah, she
Saw us
did.
out here taping.
And those ladies in that office are such a delight. They do the copyright, the copy editing for the Senate, and they're always so engaged.
Yeah, they really are super, super, and we just love them.
Sending my law school papers.
This week, there was a report released, the first of its kind, on the amount of money that goes into state budget and into the state from energy. And energy covers a lot of things, but at $13 billion a year into the state economy, at least over 120,000 jobs, and $385 million goes into the general fund and the education trust fund, Susan.
It does, and a lot of these monies, you have to understand, we're not just talking about coal here. We're talking about renewable energy such as solar and wind that we're getting piped in from other places. Most of the coal that's actually mined here in Alabama is for use of steel, the creation of steel, not for burning for energy. So, I mean, we're getting a lot of different, it seems like Alabama model is beginning to move in the way we're supporting our energy.
Well, Beth, I mean, that's the future. Nuclear and solar and wind is the future. Alabama Power's been moving that way, and natural gas is plentiful.
Right, and I just remember when they started trying to build the wind farms up in Cleburne and Cherokee counties, and the outrage that came about that with they're going to kill birds or something. So, I mean, I just would like to encourage the people of Alabama to have an open mind about
More of your people would have been worried about that than our
You'd be surprised. We don't have any of our people.
But it was Senator Phil Williams who fought against it.
In Etowah County and St. Clair County.
Yeah.
Well, does that surprise you? No,
Well,
probably didn't have a buddy in that industry.
Or he couldn't represent him as a lawyer, maybe.
Exactly. Get a contract.
It's not lobbying, it's legal services.
Yes, I get that.
That boy's elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor.
It does. That's the sad part.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, the Seth Hammond, former Speaker of the House, a really smart guy, he's heading up this Energy Institute for Alabama. They're really trying to work to get people to understand energy in Alabama. And the first thing they wanted to do is figure out what kind of money was it bringing into the state. And I talked with Speaker Hammond, and he said, look, I anecdotally thought this was true, but Beth, he said when they really looked at the hard numbers, they had no idea that the energy industry meant this much to the state of Alabama.
It does. I mean, and look at the city of Birmingham was built around the fact that it's the perfect intersection between the coal and the iron ore. I mean, our economy is built on it, but we've got to find a way to sustain what we have while moving towards the future. I mean, that's just
Seth Hammond has proved there is life after Bentley.
There is life after Bentley. Of course,
So all of y'all out there, you can jump ship and you will survive.
Yeah, well,
We'll
I
help
know
find you a
Seth Hammond.
lifeboat.
Some of those people are no Seth Hammonds.
Yeah, this is true. That is a good point.
Anyway, we
less time fixing their hair
compliment
and more time doing work.
that institute is doing the hard work that needs to be done so we understand the problems and the opportunities we're facing.
Well, and at least they did the studies beforehand. They went ahead and looked at the numbers before they got started into this, which so many people just start an institute and then, backplay everything from there.
Well, I tell you,
And
what
they get a
hurt my
goal
feelings,
and then decide how to find the research to support what they're trying to do.
We probably need to move on, but ASU has more troubles. What's new, Jack?
God almighty.
The university, the state university over there in Montgomery, has suspended their president, Gwendolyn Boyd, and it goes back to a story that your buddy Josh Moon did.
Yeah, it does, in that she was making unilateral decisions without consulting the board or even telling the board. But I'm no fan of that whole organization. It's been rife with corruption for a long time. They need to get it right. They are squandering taxpayer dollars over there, and they got to get it fixed.
Well, they got some new board members, including Larry Means, and he was he was right in there.
Well, he was right in there with them, scrapping it all along. I was watching as I followed Josh on Twitter, and Larry, who is a friend of ours from Attala, he's the mayor of Attala also, I was texting him and saying, you realize Josh Moon is on our team, you better watch your step. So he was like, I just talked to Josh. But he was in there, and the antics that were going on, like trying to adjourn the meeting before it ever started, 30 minutes worth of arguing about what the meeting was going to be about. And Larry was just like, listen, people, this is insane. We've got to get something done here.
Well, they didn't even have the minutes from the last meeting
That's right.
typed up on hand. I mean, who does that, Beth?
You know.
A garden club.
Yeah.
He said, I've never been to a meeting where the minutes from the previous meeting had not been bothered to be typed up.
Yeah, I mean, did anybody bother to think that we were having a meeting? No, evidently not.
I mean, we type them as we go. Like, this is the Young Democrats. This isn't even like a circus. And
yeah, I know.
We managed to get our minutes.
And you know, the contrast to this and Troy University, we were down there a week or so ago.
Their celebration?
Dr. Jack Hawkins has done such a marvelous job down there. That is a shining star in the firmament of education in Alabama.
And as a contrast, they have a great board of trustees.
Yeah.
The board of trustees get along, they don't fight, they agree, and they try to move the university forward instead of trying to gain political ground for themselves.
Yeah. Well, ASU has been a problem for a long time, as Jack has pointed out. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon. Governor Bentley, I still got to get back on this. Larry Lee wrote a great piece this week, and he basically said Bentley sucks on education. And he points out about 12 different things that Bentley's done in the last year or so that harm education, Beth, not help it.
Yeah, I mean, he stood up and said that our education system sucks, and I'd like to stand up and say that Governor Bentley sucks. I mean, from the Accountability Act, pushing that through in 11 o'clock at night right after it passed, I mean, any number of times he's raided the Education Trust Fund. He's denied teachers proper compensation for the work they do. I'm amazed that he could only find 12 major reasons why Bentley sucks on education, because I could keep going for the next hour.
He doesn't even show up for the Board of Education meetings. He's not even there.
Well, I don't disagree with him that education sucks. You look at test scores in Alabama is absolutely disgraceful. Yeah. And what he said was right. Now, has he done anything to help it? No.
No, I mean, that's the deal. Yes, our people are undereducated. Education is underfunded. They're not getting it done with these Bob Riley schemes that are going out there. And we're just throwing money at a problem and not trying to fix it.
Bentley signed the Accountability Act, which was done corruptly. It rated every classroom of $1,000 or something like that. I mean, he's not doing anything to help it.
Well, and that's like before he lost his mind, right? That was before he went off the rails. But this is the thing. You had a backbencher in there, got to be governor, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And now he gets the girlfriend. He has no clue what's going on in the state. We're going to have to leave it right there. But before we go, we have to congratulate Jonathan Barbie on his election as constable of Jefferson County. Was he get a smoky hat or anything?
I just wonder if he was on time for his swearing in.
All right, we're going to leave right there again. You've been watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.